So everybody knows, because communication is key. If we need you for something and we don't know where you are, that's a problem.
If I recall correctly, it was a record semester for the number of scripts and directing reels that we received. Everflowing stood out immediately. I know Lauren from her freshman year, and also I know she's been on countless sets in different capacities. So she's really someone who's paid her dues throughout her time at Biola. I know that she was ready to tell the story, and to see her tell a story with such poetry and lyricism, and the animated sequences were beautiful. And then to actually have a strong point of view and to use the lens through which she grew up to tell the story. It was uniquely her story to tell. Everything just sort of came together for her, I think, and this was the perfect script and the perfect time for her to make this film.
It was really important to me that the director has a very clear passion for their story. When I began inquiring about Everflowing, I had never met Lauren before. When I read her script, I felt like I learned so much about who she was just in her story. That to me is something that's like incredibly admirable.
It was the vulnerability and bravery of the topic at hand. There was just something raw about what we were discussing in this film and the reality of the circumstances that were being discussed.
It was a story that I feel had an iceberg sort of structure to it. As I reread it, I found its deeper meaning, its wrestle with faith in the midst of chaos.
Everflowing came to me at a very special time when I knew that I needed some sort of healing, but I really couldn't pinpoint it. It's often hard when you're dealing with strains in your relationship with God or your relationship with friends, and you know what the right thing to do is, but sometimes you still feel detached. And for me, it felt reminiscent of the veil not being torn yet between myself and God. Something about Everflowing felt like the veil was being torn, and that something I had prayed for was tangible because I felt God's hand throughout the entire process. There wasn't really a moment where I didn't feel guided. I had one of the most healing experiences of my life, just seeing people rally around this character of Kate that felt so familiar I could tell to so many people. It was healing watching other people heal, and it was healing getting to grieve with Kate throughout this entire process. I felt healing in my own relationship with God because I felt like He honored Kate's story as one that He recognized for a lot of His children.
I tend to define a lot of who I am by what I do. I have a tendency to feel like people only value me as a skill set, not actually as a person. Something that Lauren, Ben, and Aaron have done for me is they have fundamentally disrupted that belief and helped me recognize that you can have working relationships with people where you are a person and you are a skill set, but the most effective ones and the most life-giving ones are where you're a person first.
A happy crew is a fed crew. Part of doing catering, it's all in the presentation. And so there was one day, it was a particularly difficult day. The weather had gotten the best of us a little bit. We knew we needed to bring in the big guns. So we went to Target. We bought 2 pairs of jeans. We had a pair of scissors, and we cut them.
To an appropriate length.
Yes. Appropriately appealing length.
Yeah.
And we brought our grills, we brought our spatulas, we brought our raw meat, and we laid it on thick.
Just for this. Just for this. Oh my goodness. Just for you guys. Yeah. It's just for the people.
It was a good day.
It was a good day.
I was shocked. Literally shocked, and then like, oh, later, oh. They're like best protesters.
Do I look like I'm doing work?
fire. Is that a good? Yes.
All the kids with these words lately.
My two lovely other
Slaves.
I mean.
I think the biggest question mark for us throughout the production was how we were going to get the shadows of the rain on Kate's face. In order to get those shadows, you need a hard, bright light source, but that scene is meant to take place early morning. We came up with the idea to have the sun rise in the shot. It's one of the most stylized and unique scenes of the film.
Our crew absolutely killed it. I never felt like it was a challenge because I just had so much trust in those working with me. Everyone brought their A game.
Building the world of Everflowing involves a lot of balancing between realistic elements and also some surreal elements.
With the murals, we wanted the transitions of the start, the finish, the sketches, the rained on, and then the final completion, and how to design, how can we do a mural that's cost efficient as well as practically efficient to move around? And so that was designing an interchangeable frame for those murals. I think that was a big challenge that was fun to work over and then see what I think to be a pretty effective outcome.
From the very, very get-go, animation was such a big focal point for this production. Something that has not been done before to this scale in biofilm, and so we really wanted to challenge ourselves and challenge the class and the program in general to implement and integrate the art department and areas that maybe aren't quite as represented here.
It's those sequences where we give the viewers a chance to breathe from all of what has happened in the live action, gives them a second to stop and think, but also it serves the journey of both the character and the viewer as we find out through these animated sequences the weight of what's happening.
If I were to describe the score for Everflowing in one word, I'd probably say incomplete, only because from that sort of beauty that we start with when we're, marred or tainted by something that changes us and makes us not able to be a part of the world that we once were, there's a sort of grieving that happens there, and never fully is there healing. There's a lot of areas we can heal. There's a lot of areas we can grow. There's a lot of areas we can mature, and we can find healing with other people in our lives. And I think that's the big thing I want to be able to take away with the score for Everflowing, is to say, hey, look, that beautiful world is still there, and in some ways you can still be a part of it. But you won't ever be able to truly immerse yourself and fully run into that again. It's always going to be different, and that's okay.
After reading the scripts, I always kind of had this idea that Everflowing sounded like a river. It was more of like the way in which the film progressed. It kind of had this river-like structure to it, where it's very smooth, but then there's these impactful moments where there's like rocks and jagged edges.
Lauren's a really good director. I had to learn how to speak her language. She spoke in sound effects. She was like bang, like that. Use the little thingy. That's the type of language that she would use. And what was great is that after a couple of hours, I knew exactly what she meant by the little thingy.
This film gave me a new perspective on such a traumatic event in regards to someone in the church experiencing that and still deciding to press into community.
It's just a big eye-opener to something that I think is known and is generally acknowledged, but doesn't get as much attention as to how we deal with these things.
It isn't entirely a message of despair, and yet it's also a message of brutal reality and how these terrible events can ripple into the lives of so many people, and given me the insight of what it actually looks like to not give up on God because of man's brokenness.
There's a lot of things that people don't acknowledge or people don't say because they're uncomfortable. In order to understand somebody, you have to embrace the wretchedness. You have to embrace the ugliness and the darkness of things, because that way we're able to love people deeper. And so it's really important that challenging topics and uncomfortable things are said and spoken about, because that way we can just dive deeper into what is true and how to respond to things, because ignoring it is not going to help anything. In writing this story, it's very personal to me, and a lot of the experiences the characters have are things that I have experienced either firsthand or secondhand. With Kate specifically, I am a sexual assault survivor myself. I knew that this was a story that I wanted to tell because I think it's really important that it get told. And mine specifically was at a very young age as well. And it's just not something that you think happens to like people around you, but it does. And unfortunately, I know many men and women that have been through similar experiences. Once I expressed what had happened to me, then other people were comfortable to express that as well. And from there, there's like a community, there's a road to healing from there.
I could find something I should learn from her. Trusting people gives them freedom to create.
She knows the balance of giving people creative space and a strong direction in her vision.
If I could count the amount of like, I love you, you're doing so well, just constantly on set.
I think she has a really good eye for people. She has such great vision. It's really inspiring to the people around her.
Keep taking the love and excitement you take to this one far and beyond. You're doing everything right. It is awesome to see you living in your element like this.
Her care for every single department, it shows so much.
She's been with us every step of the way.
Every single step of the way.
She doesn't give up on what she thinks is important.
I think Lauren is an incredibly humble director. She has this more collaborative mindset to be able to just let people shine where they need to shine.
She was just very respectful and very trusting of what I was doing.
Being brave and wanting to continue to tell your experience and people's experiences in a genuine way, I think will serve you really well if you carry it with you.
You just carried the story and the vision with such grace and with such openness to collaboration. It never felt like you were on this like high horse of the director.
The flexibility that you have as a filmmaker, the collaborative attitude that you have is amazing. I look forward to working with you again very soon.
Hey Lauren, I love you. Thank you for the opportunity to produce this film. It was your story to tell, and we're grateful that we've gotten this opportunity. Fight for the stories that you feel in your soul that you need to tell. I pray that you never lose sight of the dream of filmmaking that you have inside of you. You are born to be a storyteller, and I see that, and it's evident to everyone who's around you.
A lot of times it's probably challenging for a young director to go toe-to-toe with someone who also has a strong point of view. In a lot of ways, like Lauren has those qualities that like I feel like she's a peer of mine, you know, and she can like sit down and like, you know, kind of go toe-to-toe in a way, and I think that was, you know, really thrilling, and I think the ways that she stuck to her vision throughout all this and kind of kept, protected the project through those rounds of feedback and through the collaboration and all of that. I think it like really shows up on the screen now, which is very exciting.
And that's how movies are made.